So drink your drink.
It would help if I turned my microphone on. Good morning, I'm Spartan John. It's a Thursday. As soon as Kevin said no mic, I knew immediately. I was like, fuck. Anyway, good morning. Hi, how are you guys? Hi. Who have I missed? Have I missed anyone yet this morning? Has anybody posted? Yeah, no mic, no mic. Morning. Hey, morning, Mo. How are you? Kevin is here. Everybody is arriving. There's a joy. Hey, at least you know the day. Did I not know the day yesterday? couldn't tell you if I didn't know or not. It's like that. As retirement strikes you. As retirement strikes you, you get the I mean, that's what you get. You just don't know the day anymore. Sorry, not sorry. It doesn't matter. Mondays we golf, and that's important. And then every other day, it's you have something on your chin. Oh, hey, those are my dogs. That's Fluff from the Malamutes. Thank you for catching that. That is the under for from the Malamutes. I can't. I posted a picture in the Animal Planet in the Spartan Space, and mislabeled what? Is it wrong? Did it not do the thing today? Is it not? I'm reading Rubicon Protocol. It should be fine. What is mislabeled? The day was miserably labeled. Oh, the day. Oh, that's right. I got you. That's right. Yeah. That was weird. I tried to start up the stream yesterday, and I was pretty sure that I changed the title, and it just didn't stick, so whatever. That's why I have people like you, Kevin, here to make sure that I don't fuck it off. I guess. I went for a walk this morning with my wife. That was amazing. Man, it is raining. I already had to change my shoes this morning and socks because the walk got my feetsies all wet. It was not great. But hey, it's the Pacific Northwest, and that's what you get when you move here, so we love it. There were no sports yesterday. I came into the Discord to play with Jimmy. I was hoping we were going to play some golf and hang out. Instead, I had a group of awesome people populate. Oh, don't trust me. I will lead you off the path just for a laugh. I believe you. Instead, I had some company while I did some more work on my helmet and watched Lexi. I'll give you guys a show of what's been done. I'm done sanding it for sure now, okay? So, after I got off of the awesome yesterday, I continued to sit here for like 2 hours and obsess over every blemish that I could possibly see in this helmet. Okay? And then I took a break, and I went for a drive with my wife. I think we went for a drive. And I spent some time with my wife. And then when we were done, we came back. Fuck, no way. God damn it. And then when we were done, we came back, and nah, it's okay. It's okay. Can't see it from space. Nobody will know but me. Anyway, when we came back, I came back in here and I turned on the stream, and I was gonna hang out with Jimmy and play some golf, but Jimmy was watching Lexi, so I went back to work and just started sanding this again for a lot more time. So now I'm down to the point where I have a few pieces of, I have a few little blemishes that I've determined I'm just going to work with because I decided purposefully to leave them there based on the model and the damage on the model. But as far as everything else, it is about as perfect as I think it could possibly be. I mean, I'm sure that Lexi or somebody is going to look at this and be like, you should have sanded it more. She continued to tell me on her stream last night that I should still be sanding. And I was until I went to bed. Like, I fell asleep in my chair sanding. But I did also add these little grills on here that you guys can see that were not there yesterday. So now you can see them. Isn't that cool? So now the details are coming through. It's starting to look really nice as a nice helmet. Yeah, I love it. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. I'll cover how we're gonna do the visor and stuff someday. I still got to work on getting some paint. I still have to locate where I'm gonna put the temple mic. And I think what I'll do, now I'm thinking about it, is I think I'm just gonna drill right here in this panel. I'll either put them inside. I'll see if they can fit in this nested panel here. But it'll probably be right here, right in the temple, closer to the visor, just right there. That's what I'm thinking. Anyway, cool beans. It's going to be really cool stuff. You guys are going to love it. We'll continue to cover it. Hey, Martin, if you happen to be watching this morning, and maybe you're not, somebody can remind me, the pen microphones that we're using in the cheeks of the helmets, do they come in white? Is there a part number to find them in white? Bone speaker and throat mic. Woof. Yeah, so I don't know if that would work. The issue of the two microphones in the cheeks, Kevin, is like with the Infinite Chief, they hear all the sound. And then they go through a filter board and propagate inside right against my ear so I can hear the sound too. That's what allows me to play Halo more efficiently with the helmet than it could be. Because I'm able to do all the things, including hearing. So, I don't know. Something to consider. I will consider it. But yeah. Other than that, that's what I did. I just sanded and sanded and sanded. I'm pretty sure it's ready to paint now. I'm just aligning some last minute things, drilling some holes, trying to figure this all out so that I can get it well done. And well, you guys will see that start to evolve a little bit faster soon. Hey Siri, did the Kraken play tonight?
The Kraken play the Jets at 7 p.m.
There you go. That's what we're doing tonight, guys. So after the awesome is over, we will take a break. We will work on this helmet. We'll do some chores around the house. And then we'll be back here at 7 p.m. watching the Kraken on Amazon Prime. That's where they're at. And we share it here in the awesome for everybody to enjoy. It's my hockey team. I'll change over to their outfit after the awesome is over. I'm representing the Seahawks this morning for Blue Friday. You know, because they're my football team. That's what I've got. I don't have anything else to talk about at the moment. We're reading Rubicon Protocol. Here it is. We've got several episodes already in the can for that on YouTube. You can go back and listen to. I have to fix the playlist. I spent 45 minutes this morning right here at my chair giving myself the brain pain trying to fix that playlist so you guys can listen to that in the appropriate order. I believe it's Thursday. Thanks, Kevin. You see, this is what we're talking about. Look, Jesus Christ, reading day is on Thursday. Yeah, you're right, Kevin. See, scatterbrained. Fuck! Anyway, I should be wearing cracking gear then. Rough. Anyway, it's alright. There was logic to the choices that I made. I didn't say it was perfect. Now you know why. I think this is the 43-year-old update I got. So tomorrow is Blue Friday. We'll wear Seahawks stuff tomorrow morning too. It doesn't matter. Make sure to come and see us at Grit City on Saturday. It is the last convention of the year. You will get the most... Apparently, you'll get the most scatterbrained and burned out version of Spartan John you've ever had in your whole entire existence on Saturday. But we'll be there. It's a one-day show in Tacoma at the convention center, and it's a good show. It's small. They always have something that everybody loves, and we're going to be there on Saturday. And then I'm going to take a long break from conventions while I craft and lose my mind, apparently, with you guys here to help me with that. But the nicest and most kind. Thank you, Kevin. Ultimately humbled here. I just try to be a good person for all of you. And for myself. It's for my soul, mostly. God damn it, John. You fucked it all. I feel like I should pause this and go change now. I'm not gonna, but that's what I feel like I should do. Get the camera to stabilize itself, and we'll get started. Is this the first day of reading in the new configuration? I believe it is. Let's see, we'll put you right here. And we'll put you right here. There we go. Just reorganizing all my shit because, you know, it's all new to me. Show us the flying hotel. I will in a second. I also forgot. Hey, don't forget, we're hosting a charity tournament on December 6th and 7th. It's a 4v4 4v4 ranked rule tournament. So it's nice. Come and be part of it. It's for Extra Life. It's there's prizes. Stay awesome and be part of the tournament. Hosted by Foam Forge Cosplay, Installation 00, myself, and Jumperscape. Everybody great will be here. Yeah, that's right. December 6th, 7th. There, you got it. I hope it's 6th and 7th. Alright, here it goes. Here's the hotel. Some Star Trek music. Alright, we're on chapter 26 of the Rubicon Protocol. Thank you to Installation 00 for the ambient wonders. You should do that. It's $20 to charity for every 4 players. Bring as many teams as you want. Fill the bracket. I don't care. There's prizes. We'll talk some more after the reading. Hotel. Alright. Rubicon Protocol by Kelly Gay. Chapter 26. Outpost Tremonius, Zeta Halo. April 23, 2560. Day 133. The boat crew had arrived near the Mortal Reverie. I'm going to start over. The boat crew had arrived near the Mortal Reverie site the day before, making camp a good 2 clicks from the outpost in an area of sparse trees, uneven ground, and massive boulders. All that rose 5 to 10 meters high. The location was excellent in terms of cover and vantage point. Spartan Stone had used the time to complete recon of the area, putting the upgraded shield module she'd acquired to good use, while Spartan Kovan provided overwatch. The fact that the Banished had turned the Reverie into an outpost didn't surprise Stone at all. As a leader, Eshram was nothing if not practical, routinely repurposing UNSC and Forerunner sites to suit his own needs. And, if any opportunity also existed to demoralize his enemies, It was a solid bet that he'd take the advantage. The enemy had renamed the site Tremonius, after the Geralhani chieftain who led the assault against the Reverie, tossed most of the ship's supplies into a chasm, and deployed their prefabricated outpost structures around the far side of the broken UNSC vessels, including a heavily fortified landing platform. Seeing the Reverie occupied by the enemy had sucker punched her hard in the chest. For the briefest of moments, Stone was pulled back into those chaotic memories of the battle on the other side of the frigate. The constant aim, fire, block, stab, kill, amid screams and munitions detonations. The starboard side of the Reverie was barely recognizable after the Banished assault. The frigate had been so severely battered by the Banished mortar strikes that it had literally sunk into the mountainside, with all evidence of the previous conflict now lost under the countless rock slides and ashen battle plates. The pass the Banished climbed into to attack the UNSC forces was now a tangle of charred trees, loose stones, and detritus, not even remotely traversable. The Banished had excavated new egress points below the mountain, and were already using them to issue patrols. It had been a harrowing fight, one she'd never forget, but she sure as hell wasn't ready to revisit it in her head, so she turned to what she did best, biding her time and playing the long game, using her skill and its skill sets to figure out what Escharum wanted most. It was clear he wanted control of Zeta Halo, but the steps he was taking to achieve that goal, that's what she needed to find out. And once she did, Stone would do everything to stop him, taking away his power, making him nothing. That was the kind of revenge she was looking forward to, the kind that would cut the deepest. Over the course of the last 24 hours, as fog rolled in over the mountains and settled into the deep ring fractures that split the ridge in half, she'd meticulously recorded Banished movements around the outpost. The activity level maintained abnormally high, the most Stone had seen since the Reverie ambush, and it was clear that something of significance had occurred within the last few days. Enemy talk was hushed and wary, even among the grunts, which was really saying something. And now there was no doubt the Banished were actively excavating and unearthing artifacts from the Forerunner facilities below the Reverie. From her position, sandwiched between the rocks far above the ships, Stone overheard critical intel and recorded footage of carts emerging from Tremonius' outpost. Their strange contents of irregular-shaped alloy pieces and devices loaded onto the transports that had set down on the loading platforms. When a vehicle was fully loaded, its drives powered up, and the enemy began immediately boarding. Several Phantoms had already lifted off and were making their way south. Just as she was about to duck down and prepare a transmission, her gaze lit on a dark-haired human in tattered clothing, barefoot and walking around toward the last transport that was left on the platform. Her breath lodged in her throat as she magnified, and goosebumps skated up her arms. "Jesus," she whispered. It was Browning, Lucas Browning. A shadow of himself, however, his profile drowned in a beard and shaggy hair. He was so goddamn thin, it made her chest give a painful squeeze. But it was him, all right. She'd recognized that fresh out of med school face anywhere. The same one that had gazed up at her with wonder when she pulled him out of the lifeboat. According to the others, he'd run toward the Banished, drawing the enemy away for the rest of the crew, an act of sheer bravery and utter foolishness, and by all accounts, he should be dead by now. How the hell he'd managed to stay alive all this time was nothing short of a miracle. Human captives, whether in the hands of the Covenant or the Banished, rarely lived long. Crawl onto a Phantom, its engine cold. Stone bit hard on her bottom lip, forcing herself to stay still while everything inside her wanted to race him out of harm's way. But the place was still overflowing with the Banished. There was no way to infiltrate now, but there might be one later, once those vessels make their way fully off the site. Shaken, she sank back down between the rocks and took a deep breath and refocused. Open a one-way transmission, she told Ooko, then reported initial sweep of Reverie site is complete. The banished outpost here is more than a barracks. They're unearthing Forerunner tech from within the ring, including artifacts I've never seen before. But there's more. Over half of the banished detachment manning this outpost are peeling off to another evacuation site. South of here, orders from the war chief himself, a Forerunner facility called the Conservatory. Whatever it is, it's important enough to divert Escherum's sole focus. We need eyes on the Conservatory as soon as possible. I'd go myself, but I need a closer look at the artifacts here. All this time, we've assumed that Zeta Halo was like the others. What if it's something more? She cut the transmission, with that question ringing in her ears. Not if, is. She was quite sure of it. And now a massive detachment was preparing to depart for another part of the ring south of the outpost, which meant her message needed to find Sorrel and Mako ASAP. She just hoped they were still in the sector and could intercept the encrypted signal. As Spanish ships began to lift off, Stone saw the Phantom was still cold. Good, hopefully it'd still be there when she returned. And if not, she'd have a pretty good idea of where it was going. Reluctantly, the Spartan moved away from her spot above the frigate and hiked a kilometer along the ridgeline before descending another kilometer towards the camp, being mindful of the banished spouts. Being mindful of the banished scouts. Without her motion tracker, she had to do things old school, and that meant taking her time and moving from one bit of cover to the next. But at least she knew the landscape pretty well, since Reverie had been her base of operations before the attacks. Fog swirled around her feet as she made for higher ground to rendezvous with Kovan. Visibility was utter crap, but that also worked in her favor. Red and gray occasionally lit the heavy clouds high above as the whir of banished vessels leaving the outpost filled the air. As she entered, a corpse of evergreens clustered against a sheer cliff wall. The fog thinned a little. A twig snapped, and the sound amplified in the quiet, while rustling among pine needles drew her gaze. She switched to thermal and saw a small flock of land birds pecking at the ground. Kovan, the stoic, was waiting for her as she cleared the woods. After a quick debrief, the two Spartans headed down the trail towards camp. You think they'll get it? Kovan asked. There aren't that many signal jammers up here. Sorrel and Mako weren't too far from my position when I found you, so let's hope it goes the distance. They'll have to carry on and find the conservatory, whatever the hell that is. While I take a look beneath Reverie, Escherum wants total control over Zeta Halo, and my gut tells me he's on the hunt for something that will further that objective. Well, I know not to question your gut, Kovan said. There's one more thing. Kovan paused on the trail and turned. Stone wasn't sure how to say it, still shocked by what she had seen. I'm pretty sure I saw Browning. Kovan ripped off her helmet, her eyes blazing. What? That's why I'm telling you now. If the others know, they'll want to do something stupid, and the outpost is too fortified for them to handle. Maybe telling Kovan was stupid too, because the Spartan started to pace, the wheels already turning, her lips thinned, and her eyes narrowed. It didn't take a genius to see how Kovan felt about the kid, especially after he'd saved her life. So you want me to lie to them? I don't like it any more than you do, but it's the right call for now. Our focus should be getting our guy out of banished hands and not worrying about the others getting killed in the process. Stone could see the moment Kovan agreed. The Spartan stopped pacing and let out a conceding sigh. It fits, right? Lucas being there, Stone went on. The banished are bringing up artifacts, and they need humans to activate Forerunner technologies. They have humans in their ranks. Yes, but I doubt few, if any, of those traitors have survived the banished anger over losing their homeworlds. Serves them right. Besides, why risk loyal soldiers when you have prisoners? They're expendable. That's the smart play to make, especially if they don't know how a certain piece of tech would react upon activation. How sure are you? It was him. thinner and weaker, but it was Browning. I watched him exit the outpost and board a transport. It didn't leave with the detachment and was sitting cold when I left. Kovan ran a hand over her head. So he's still there. Hell, now I want to do something stupid. Stone grabbed Kovan's arm, but before she could say anything, Kovan returned the gesture, and she wasn't gentle about it. You don't understand what kind of kid that night. Anyone else would only see Kovan's hard, ice-blue gaze and rigid jaw, but Stone saw straight through the pain and the guilt. None of us would be here. I mean, I wouldn't be here. Kovan shoved away and paced once more, suddenly stomping to stare out through the trees to the vague outline of the mountain range in the distance. We're supposed to be the heroes, right? And that stupid kid ended up saving my life. Full stop. No question. Stone still didn't have all the details about what went down, and she hadn't pressed Kovan about it. Nina, I get how you feel. So, what are we going to do about it? Kovan donned her helmet. Give me the full layout, don't worry. I won't do anything dumb. Or at least not if I can't help it. Standard recon procedure. Stone had already mapped the outpost and proceeded to share the intel with Kovan. There had been zero chance before when the banished detachment was still around, but now there might be a very slim opportunity to get the medic to safety, and operating with such odds was kind of their thing. The transport is in a decent position, Stone said, on a landing platform close to the supply depot, and one of the barrier walls near the cliff. It's still heavily guarded, but if we approach the cliff side and go over the wall, not a word to the team. We'll wait for nightfall, was all Kovan said before turning and heading back down the trail. When nightfall came, the wind, it thinned some of the heavy fog and pushed it against Kovan and Stone as they picked their way down the ravine formed by the Reverie's wake when it first crashed into the mountain. Once they reached the end of the exposed ring fragment, they lowered themselves carefully down the jagged cliffs and worked their way around the ring's substructure, well out of sight from the banished outpost perimeter. High above them, they could barely see the protruding titanium plating from the Moral Reverie's bow, which hung over the deep fracture in the ring that cut back south toward the infiltration point. The cold winds coming from the fracture pressed Kovan against the cliff's face, making her way slow but steadily. Not her first choice of infiltration points, but a necessary one since her active camo was still on the fritz. Every small sound carried in this environment, but despite their size, the Spartans knew precisely how to use their suits and armor. They were ghosts, shadows. While Stone's faded blue Mjolnir blended in perfectly with the gloomy night, Kovan would have to employ active camouflage once they reached the landing platforms, which she did in short order, using the grooves between the linked sheets of alloy and the magnets in her boots to scale the wall. Stone was right behind her. Once there, she deployed the active camo, her display showing the module was only operating with 80% efficiency. She threw a glance over her shoulder. Ready? Stone's helmet dipped. I'll have eyes on you the whole time. Then she slipped off to a well-covered scouting location near the bow of the Reverie. And without motion tracking, Kovan could use the second set of eyes. Here we go. She moved carefully across the landing platform, tucking behind the supply depot, using her spotty thermal to locate any close targets. Several near the central outpost, and groups of Ungoi and Kigyar stationed at each entry point across the site. The Phantom was still cold and dark, with a few Geralhani gathered near a fire about 10 meters from the craft. And there was one very faint thermal in the back of the transport. She took her time edging around the supply depot. then moving behind weapon stations and supply crates until she was close enough to approach the Phantom and make a soft leap into its open carriage bay, settling her way down like a feather in its darkened interior. It was Browning, all right, his form framed in the center of her HUD, trembling from the cold, still barefoot and wearing nothing but a threadbare flight suit 2 sizes too big. His knees were pulled to his chest, arms wrapped around them, head down and to the side. His breathing pattern told her he wasn't sleeping. Kovan crept right up to him and knelt, perfectly still, perfectly quiet. She reached out and put a finger on his knee. The second he lifted his head, she put a hand over his mouth. His eyes were round over her hand, body stiff and poised. The kid had been through hell. A quick bioscan told the tale of broken bones, torn ligaments and muscles, sleep deprivations, and dehydration. And the surface level wasn't much better. His cheeks were sunken and shadowed with beard, making the facial bones prominent. She waited for him to realize who she was. When he nodded his head in acknowledgement, she removed her hand. He stared at her for a long second and then broke down sobbing, eyes filling with tears, and his entire body shaking. Kovan took his arm and pressed back against the hull, fear flashing across his face. He lifted his wrists to show her what appeared to be shackles of some type, though they weren't attached to anything. "If you take me out, I won't survive," he whispered. "Explain. There's so much you don't know." "She put these on me." He wasn't making sense. She who? The Harbinger, the Banished. They brought her up out of the ring. They made me wake her up. He grabbed her arm. "Species we know. She's not anything good." No, hold on. He grabbed her arm, still crying. "Kovan, she's not Banished. She's not Covenant or any species that we know. She's not anything good." There was nothing in her database about anyone called the Harbinger. While she couldn't discount what she was saying, or what he was saying, Browning also had all the earmarks of starvation-induced psychosis. "Where is this Harbinger now?" "Already gone." "Gone where?" "I don't know. And these?" She indicated the shackles. "She said she had a use for me. She said all that we know would be undone." "Kovan, you've got 2 brutes making rounds. They'll be coming up on your 3 o'clock. Stone's voice issued through her earpiece. Kovan focused on the shackles, and what she guessed was their linked sensor, a node she'd noticed attached to the hull. But Browning grabbed her again. "Don't." She was right, of course. There was no telling what would happen if she touched the sensor and attempted to destroy it. She was guessing the shackles would blow her sky high. "Just go and warn everyone. This is bigger than Esherim," he said fervently, trying to make her understand and believe it, or the Banished, or anything. "I know it sounds nuts, but I'm not crazy." Stone's tight voice crackled through her audio. "Damn it, Nina. You're running out of time." Reaching into a small slot in her chest piece, Kovan withdrew several tiny recording transmitters and slipped them into Browning's flight suit pocket, then hastily attached a small tracking beacon at the base of his neck under his shoulder-length hair. "This is a tracking beacon. They won't be able to detect it. But toss it once you get to wherever they take you. I don't want them finding it on a physical search." If she left now, sight unseen, there'd be no reason for the captors to suspect that he'd been bugged. Regardless, she knew she was putting him in danger. But if any part of what he was saying was true, hide the transmitters. You can peel and stick them anywhere, or even on your skin. As soon as they attach to any surface, they start recording. Learn whatever you can about the Harbinger. Remove the transmitter. That initiates a signal ping that automatically links to a UNSC network or datapad in range. So just dump them on the ground or anywhere that they can get out. They're designed to link us back to UNSC datapads and transmitters. Those transmitters would come back to her, but at least whatever intel recorded would hopefully be captured and saved by the friendlies as well. Kovan, 90 seconds. She ignored Stone, unable to make herself move, her augmented heart giving a painful squeeze as they stared at each other. "I know," he said sadly, wiping his wet face against his forearm. "It's okay," he swallowed, lifting his chin, trying to convince them both. "It's okay." He drew in a shaky breath and released it with what was meant to be an encouraging smile. "Did everyone else make it?" His voice trembled. "God damn this kid." With a curse, she pulled off her helmet, determined to give him something human, something familiar and caring to see, because it could be very well the last time that he saw the like. Her throat went a little thick, but she managed to smile, hoping it comforted him somewhat. "Yeah, we all made it, thanks to you. We made it, and we're together, even Stone." And that seemed to comfort him. His body relaxed, and he let his head fall back against the hull, nodding, but still weeping. "I have to go now, but I'll come find you, Doc," she promised. "I won't stop. You can count on it. And I will always keep my promises." With that, she donned her helmet, feeling like her heart was breaking in two, and she disappeared once more into the darkness. Chapter 27. The Tower. Zeta Halo, April 24, 2560, day 134. Shortly before dawn, the banished phantom made its approach back to the tower, back to hell. The thinning layer of fog hovering over the dark outline of the landscapes below was now illuminated by a thick band of red light surrounding the tower. Not a beacon exactly, more like a warning, and yet Lucas wasn't afraid. He swallowed the laugh that bubbled in his throat. Who knew that coming back to the tower would give him more peace than he'd had in days? At least here, he knew what to expect. The daily routine, no matter how hard or painful, was better than the horrific uncertainty of the Harbinger or the anguish of watching his rescuer leave without him. He wasn't sure which event had been worse. Witnessing the Harbinger's awakening had left him shaken and confused, and he was still trying to make sense of it. But seeing Spartan Kovan had absolutely gutted him. He supposed, if he had to choose, that one had the harder of the two because it finally made him let go of any of the hope or expectation of being rescued. Iticus must have been wary because, despite guaranteed abuse at any moment, the brute barely paid him much attention as they debarked. His jailer hovered behind him like a hulking shadow, his, beneath visibility, puffing in and out like a dragon in the cold air as he nudged Lucas's shoulder with one large finger, prompting him across the courtyard and into the tower's ground level. They took the gravity lift to the first level, then climbed the ramp to the second level, and proceeding along the corridor to his cell block. While it was darkly lit by the red translucent energy barriers over each cell, Lucas didn't need any illumination to find his way. He could track it by the smell alone. A combination of old, musky brutes, human body odors, and general rot. His steps were slow and shuffling as they stopped at his cell door. Iticus deactivated the barrier and Lucas walked in before the brute could execute his customary shove. The barrier returned, and he stood there in his small cube, unable to move. They lived, at least. The boat crew, Murphy, Dimmick, Bender, Cam, Kovan, and Stone, they'd all miraculously made it through the horror of the reverie, and were out there somewhere surviving. He wondered how Cam's knee was doing, if Bender was still cracking jokes, if Murphy had picked up on those subtle looks Dimmick sometimes cast his way. His shoulders slumped, his head too heavy now to hold, bowed down. Despair rose up and crashed over him in a suffocating wave. After a time, he sank to his knees. The despair gave way to numbness and cold. It was always so damn cold. It sapped any strength that he had, and while it was warmer here inside, he had no energy or muscle mass to regenerate or keep inside the heat. He crawled to his favorite spot in the back corner where it was dark and next to the wall he shared with his neighbor, curling onto his side and pulling his knees into his chest. He finally gave in to the bone-deep exhaustion. A cry woke him sometime later. The noise of the day, filtered and long, with the dull light spilling down the corridors. His eyes were crusty, his throat sore and dry, making it hard to swallow. Everything in him wanted to sink back into sleep, but Lucas forced himself to suit up, knowing he was experiencing the effects of depression and starvation, that soon his organs would start shutting down due to the meager amount of food that the brutes had provided. He rolled to his hands and knees and stood slowly, using the wall for support, and waited until the dizziness faded. Then he made several deep inhales and exhales before stretching his limbs, engaging his body and circulation. The flight suit he wore billowed around his thin frame. Threadbare fibers brushed against his thigh, and suddenly he remembered the devices Kovan had put in his pocket. He slipped his hand inside. Idicus hadn't bothered to check him. There'd been no reason to. A zing of possibility went through him as Kovan's words swirled in his head. Learn whatever you can about the Harbinger. He might never see the Harbinger again or ever talk about her, but he'd still try. Hell, he might never again leave the tower in order to ditch the devices, but he could toss the transmitters down the central lift. The place wasn't exactly airtight after all, so it was worth a shot. His gut gurgled and twisted intensely. His hand went to his stomach. Inhale in and exhale out. Hunger gnawed at his insides until he wanted to scream. He counted breaths until the urges passed and tried like hell to avoid thinking about food. A few minutes later, brute footsteps echoed along with the sound of dragging. Stopped just short of his cell. Lucas listened until the footfalls retreated and the corridor grew quiet once more. He went to the corner and sat, leaning in the side, with his head against the wall, separating him from the prisoner in the adjoining cell. You there? When there was no reply, he tapped on the wall. Hey, you still there? It was difficult to hear through the wall, but a faint rustling sound came, then a groan followed by several bouts of wet coughing. He knocked again. Eventually there was a slow knock back. Lucas breathed a sigh of relief and let his head fall back against the wall. You've been gone. His neighbor's voice was deep and scratchy, winded, each word difficult to speak. Lucas could never see anything from his cell, but he could hear, and ever since he'd been at the tower, the brutes had taken the guy out religiously, and it wasn't for walks around the yard. Took a weekenders to Azure Shoals, Lucas responded, closing his eyes and letting the image play in his mind. Laid on the beach the whole time. Water was clear and blue. Sand was warm. Don't start talking about food or I'll call the guards. Damn, too bad. He'd been imagining a waiter crossing the sand with a fruity drink and a double moa burger. Where did you go? Lucas let out a harsh breath. Reverie. His neighbor was silent for a long moment before asking, what for? Lucas was about to unload the entire story, but the telltale sound of brute guards returning interrupted his attempt, and both of them went silent. Who knew what the enemy had in store for them now? Chapter 28. Outpost Tremonius, Zeta Halo, April 26, 2560, Day 136. Ever since Spartan Stone had made a loud enough distraction to draw the brutes away from Kovan's rescue attempt at Reverie, the heat had stuck to her like glue in one form or another. She'd drawn attention, sure enough, allowing Kovan's time to slip away. But they hadn't been able to rendezvous after that. And worst of all, they hadn't been able to rescue Browning either. She'd eventually found cover in an obscure cavern beneath the outpost. At first, it had appeared to be a natural part of the terrain. The mountainous cliff region was littered with such features. But she was beginning to think otherwise. The farther she explored, 100 meters in, and the rock at her feet began to turn to alloy. She was either on top of a Forerunner site situated beneath the outpost, or had found an entrance to it. Exactly what she'd been hoping for when she made her report to Sorel and Mako. A combination of rock walls and a dirt-strewn metal floor led up until cables and stacks of grav carts and excavation tools began to litter the way. Enemy ahead, Owoko said as 4 thermal figures appeared on Stone's display. The corridor branched off into 3 directions, one of those leading into an adjacent rock-cut room where a group of Ungoi lingered. It'd been so easy to pick them off. Today was their lucky day, however. She had no desire to bring the banished to bear. Not when she was close to finding out just what they were after here. A chamber ahead spilled red light into another branch of the corridor, drawing her eyes. Bypassing the grunts, Stone crept closer, glad that the bulk of the banished presence had left this outpost. Otherwise, she never would have gotten this far. She slipped inside the excavation room, her gaze in a large rectangular device against the far wall, surrounded by the banished cabling and a track system. An outlined glow on the surface, somewhat human in shape, but with long, tapered arms and legs and tube-like torso, and a triangular head. A life-size glyph in the shape of a strange biped, but definitely unlike the Forerunner silhouette she'd never seen. "Let's check the database," she said quietly. Moving closer, she stepped over huge cables that snaked along the ground and past the banished power juncture to investigate the device from the side. At least, it might give her a bit of cover if anyone enters the chamber. The glyph was embedded in a large rectangular stasis field. It had all the earmarks with bracing containment joists on the side and an isolated power supply. She moved around to the front again and noted a reinforced energy barrier in what appeared to be the bed of the device. "Anything?" she said. "Owoko?" "Negative. While the technology is Forerunner, there's nothing else like it in the database." That had been a long time ago, and that the banished hadn't just liberated whatever was inside. Stone returned to the banished power juncture and looked for some kind of way to interface with it, but found nothing. Whatever Forerunner machine the banished had linked to the juncture was long gone. It was clear the banished had brought the stasis device here from somewhere else. The chamber was recently excavated, and the cabling and equipment were exclusively banished. To learn more, she needed to find out where the thing had originated. With that thought, her LiDAR populated on screen, revealing a lift extending down to a passage, which in turn led to an immense underground structure. Slipping out of the chamber, she backtracked to the cavern's entrance, opened a transmission short-range, encrypted signal to Spartan Kovan. "Ready," Owoko said. A green light appeared on her HUD. "Hoping you're still in range to hear this, Kovan. There's a Forerunner facility beneath the Reverie. I found a way inside, and I'm heading back to get eyes on what the Banished are excavating. I'll touch base in a day or 2. She started back inside, hoping her teammate was still within the range to receive the message. Stone might be jumping the gun, but a chance to get in and out of this facility so easily might never come again. Determined to see where this opportunity took her, she made her way to the freight elevator, using her thermal in place of her fried motion sensor to check for all clear before moving onto the large Banish-built lift. "One moment, Spartan Stone," Owoko said, easily accessing a rudimentary control panel. "I'm in. We're I'm in. We're headed down now." "Nice work." The lift swiftly descended, depositing her in a dark room, revealed by the interior red light of the lift itself. Stacked against the nearest walls were containers, weapons crates, and excavation equipment. This had definitely been the Banished staging area for their operation. Stepping off of the lift, however, it soon became clear that the room stretched out well beyond the elevator platform, into an even larger space, lined by ornate walls and majestic columns, that had been heavily rigged with Banished equipment. The room was it broke? Is the mic broken? It's not though. Audio died. Now? Can you guys hear me now? Nothing. Okay. Okay. It could be.